you ever noticed that when we decide we're going to get healthy, we suddenly want to change everything by Monday? New diet, new exercise routine, 8 liters of water, bed by 9 p.m., new skincare, new hair care routine, and by Wednesday, we're totally exhausted. But when I look at the things that have genuinely changed my life, they weren't huge, dramatic changes. They were small habits that I started repeating. And what's really interesting is that so many of them connect back to something my faith has taught me for years: the Adventist health message. So today I want to talk about faith, food, water, rest, movement, healthy hair, and something I've become increasingly interested in. If we're intentional about what we put in our bodies, how intentional should we be about what we put on them? Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Move Monday. This is where we talk about the things that help us move forward spiritually, mentally, physically, personally, and sometimes professionally. And today's conversation is really important to me because it brings together several parts of my life: my faith, my health, and even my healthy hair journey. As a Seventh-day Adventist, I've grown up around what we often call the health message. And sometimes people hear Adventist health message and immediately think, oh, you mean vegetarian food? Well, that's part of the conversation for many Adventists. But the principle is much bigger. It's about looking after the whole person: nutrition, water, rest, exercise, fresh air, sunlight, temperance, trust in God. And underneath all of that is something I think is incredibly beautiful: stewardship. Habit 1: seeing my body differently. One of our scriptures that frames this for me is 1 Corinthians 6:19. Your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you. For me, that changes the conversation. Looking after myself isn't simply about looking good. And it certainly isn't about achieving some impossible standard of health. It's asking, how am I caring for what God has entrusted to me? That question has affected so many of everyday choices. And notice I said choices, not perfection. Because if we're waiting until we're perfect to become healthier, I'll see you all in heaven. We're talking about progress. Habit 2: becoming intentional about food. One of the strongest parts of the Adventist health message is being intentional about what we put into our bodies. And I think sometimes we can make nutrition unnecessarily complicated. Food provides the protein, vitamins, minerals, and energy our bodies need to function. And guess what? Your hair belongs to your body. Your hair isn't sitting on top of your head saying, whatever happens down there has absolutely nothing to do with me. So when we're talking about healthy hair, we can't only talk about shampoo. This week especially, I want us to explore that connection. What are we actually feeding our bodies? Are we getting adequate protein? We eating a varied, balanced diet? Are we nourishing ourselves consistently? Because sometimes we're buying another hair product when we also need to look at what's happening on the inside. Habit 3: water. This is one of those ridiculously simple habits that we somehow manage to make difficult. Our bodies need water for normal physiological function. So one habit I've become more conscious of is simply drink the water. Not because drinking another bottle of water is magically going to give you Rapunzel hair by Friday, but because hydration is part of looking after your body as a whole. Again, total health. Here's a little sip, Add a little bit of key lime with some Celtic or sea salt just to make sure that your cells are receiving it and hydrating properly. Habit 4, rest. And this one is huge within my faith. Adventists have something built into our lives every single week that constantly reminds us that human beings were not created to work without stopping. Sabbath. Every week there's a full stop. And I think that principle goes beyond Saturday. Your body needs rest. Your mind needs rest. You need sleep. You need moments when you're not producing, performing, answering messages, working, worrying, or trying to fix everybody's problems. And chronic or significant stress can also affect the hair growth cycle and contribute to shedding. So sometimes healthy hair care looks like conditioner, and sometimes it looks like going to bed. Habit 5, movement, fresh air, and the simple things. Movement and fresh air, getting outside, these things sound almost too simple in a world that's constantly trying to sell us the next complicated wellness solution. But that's something I've come to appreciate about the health message. So much of it brings us back to simple foundations. Move your body according to what you're able to do. Get outside, breathe, rest, drink water, eat nourishing foods, look after your mental and spiritual well-being, and trust God. None of those things require you to completely reinvent your life tomorrow morning. They're habits, and habits grow through repetition. Habit 6. What are we putting on our bodies? Now, this is an area I want to explore more because I've spent a lot of time thinking about what I put in my body. But eventually, I started asking, what about what I'm putting on it? Our skin is actually an incredible protective barrier. So I don't want to perpetuate the idea that everything you apply to your skin automatically goes straight into your bloodstream. That's not how it works. Different substances have different abilities to penetrate the skin depending on the things like their chemical properties, concentration, formulation, and where they're applied, as well as their molecular structure. Some substances can be absorbed through the skin, and that was enough to make me curious. Not frightened, curious. What am I using regularly? What's in my skincare? What's in my hair products? What am I putting directly onto my scalp? Do I understand the ingredients? And are the claims I'm hearing actually supported by evidence? This isn't about declaring ingredients toxic because somebody made a scary TikTok about them. And it's definitely not about judging what another woman has in her bathroom. It's about becoming an informed consumer. If stewardship encourages me to think carefully about what I eat, I think it's reasonable for the curiosity to extend to the products I choose to use regularly. Habit 7, consistency over extremes. And this might be the biggest lesson. Consistency. We love dramatic transformations, but most of life isn't transformed dramatically. It's transformed quietly. One glass of water, one nourishing meal, one earlier bedtime, one walk, one Sabbath, one prayer, one wash day where you actually take care of your scalp instead of attacking it like it owes you money. One better decision followed by another. Small habits become patterns. Patterns becomes lifestyles. And lifestyles eventually produce outcomes. So this week, I want to do something slightly different. We're going to look specifically at what we're putting into our bodies and how nutrition and our everyday habits connect with overall health and healthy hair. But I also want this to become a wider conversation because the more I've revisited the Adventist health message as an adult, the more I've realized that it's not simply a list of things you're allowed or not allowed to do. For me, it's an invitation to become more intentional. How am I caring for my body? How am I caring for my mind? How am I protecting my rest? What am I feeding myself? What am I putting onto myself? And where does God fit into it all? Not fear, not obsession, not perfection, stewardship. Here's your Move Monday challenge. Choose one small healthy habit this week, just one, and practice it consistently for 7 days. Then come back and tell me what you've noticed. And if you've never heard about the Adventist health message and this video has made you curious, put health in the comments. I'd love to know what questions you have because maybe we can turn those questions into another episode. Make sure you subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. And remember, you don't have to change everything today. Sometimes changing one small thing consistently is how you eventually change your life.